Hey guys, welcome back to Once Upon a Tiny Farm. My name's Drew. In today's video, we're going to be planting our first seeds for our 400 square foot garden. And those seeds are onions. So if you've never grown onions before, stick around for this video. It'll be very informative and exciting. All right, let's get started. So if you're new to our channel, my name is Drew, and I live on a homestead here. We live on just over half an acre, and we are creating a 20 by 20 foot space into a brand new garden. So we're creating a new garden from scratch. I'm calling it the 400 square foot garden. And I have not even created the raised beds yet. That's probably going to be next week's video. I'm going to be putting together a whole bunch of raised beds in that area to create the most efficient use of space to grow the most food in the least amount of space. So I thought that would be a really cool way to bring a lot more people into gardening that never had a garden before, might have a small space in their backyard. Maybe if they have a 20 by 20 space, they could see what we're doing in our 20 by 20 space and get ideas to do it themselves. So I have a whole plan, a whole crop plan guide that you can get for free by going in the details below this video. Sign up for our newsletter and you'll get that sent, our crop plan for our 400 square foot garden, and you could follow along for free. And even if you don't want to do it, you could just get an idea of when to start certain things this year in your garden, and that way you can perpetually have crops to harvest throughout the growing season. All right, so let's get started. Today I'm going to be planting onions. This variety that I have is called Rosa di Milano. This is a red onion, and I got this variety because it's an open pollinated variety. Open pollinated means that if I wanted to save the seeds from this onion plant, I could do that and I would get the same plant for years to come. There's a lot of onions that are called hybrids, and hybrids are like a cross between two different kinds or more of onions to create certain characteristics in a really, it will create a really good onion. But the problem is, if you try to save the seeds from that, you're likely not going to get that same exact original seed, plant. You're gonna have different genetics there. So I'm trying to grow more open pollinated varieties of seeds in my garden so I could save those seeds. All right, so this is my plan for our 400 square foot garden. Now, each of the beds in this space is going to be 6 feet by 3 feet wide. So in this particular bed for onions, what we're going to do is, you see this is 1 foot, 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet long. We're going to plant 7 plugs of onions every foot. So this first foot here, 1 in the corner, 1 at 6 inches, and 1 at 1 foot. Then another one in between. This would be 18 inches, and then this one will be at 24 inches. And then there's one here at 30 inches, and one in the corner, 36 inches. So there's 7 plugs of onions there. And then we'll do the same at 1 foot, and 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot, 5 foot, 6 foot. So that'll give you 7 rows with 7 plugs. So what we're trying to do in this 400 square foot garden for each of these beds is grow the most food possible in, might be considered a small space to some people, So for each plug, I'm going to show you, if we just did 1 onion plant per each, that you would only have 49 onions that would grow in this bed. But that's not what we're going to do. The easiest way to do this plan here is to use a 50 cell tray. This I need to continue filling up. And in each of these cells, we're going to put 3 to 5 seeds of onions. So each cell is going to have 3 to 5 onions in it. And then that means it's every time we plant a plug, there's going to be 3 to 5 onions for each spot every 6 inches. So it's going to be a lot more than 49 onions. Okay, it's going to be depending, like if there was only 3 for each, it would be what, 49 plugs times 3, that, like, say it's at least 150 onions you're going to get in this spot, depending on the germination. So that's very good. So you don't have to separate them when you're planting just the whole plug. The one downside to it is when you're planting a plug like that, some of the onions are just going to be on the medium to smaller size and might not size up to a really large bulb like some people might like. So I've never found that to be the case. I found I've still grown pretty nice size onions when I grow them like 3 or 4 onions together like that. What I like to do is, as they grow, one that might be a little bit larger than some of the smaller ones, I will pull the larger bulb and leave the smaller ones to grow a little bit longer to size up a little bit more. But this way you can grow a lot more onions in less space, and I think that's what we're trying to do here, is try to grow the most food possible. So here's my 50 cell tray, and I am just going to drop, like I said, 3 to 5 seeds in each cell, and we're going to plant these, each cell as a clump of onions in our raised bed system. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we had 5 onions germinate in each cell, we would have close to 250 onions you would grow in a 3x6 space. Like, that's a lot of food per square foot. That would feed, some families might survive off that many onions in a year, and you could only grow that in a 3 foot by 6 foot space. That's kind of incredible. So that's what I'm shooting for here, and that's the whole point of the 400 square foot garden, is to show you guys how you can grow a ton of food in really small amounts of space and support your family right from your backyard, and it'll be really good and nutritious for you too. Grow your own organic veg right in your backyard. Anybody could do it with a very small footprint of space. All right, so now that I've seeded them, I am going to do what I like to do, is cover them with something called vermiculite. I believe this is some kind of volcanic rock. Not entirely sure off the top of my head. What I do know is that this stuff really does a good job of holding on to moisture. So it's gonna keep the soil from drying out. So is the peat moss, which is the soil that this is basically growing in. First time I did this, I thought that covering it with something like this would just prevent the seeds from sprouting. It would weigh it down. But this is so lightweight, it doesn't do that at all. And it does a good job of just creating darkness and over the seeds. And yeah, just helps it hold on to moisture and helps it germinate. And I've had really good success with using both vermiculite and perlite. Perlite, they are the white, so they're like white little stones, white little rocks. They also help with drainage in your seed starting mix. But I actually prefer vermiculite. If I can get my hands on some vermiculite, I would prefer to use the vermiculite. I think it's better. I found that it can cost a little bit more than the perlite, and it's not always as easy to find in bigger quantities. But I got some big bags from the Greenhouse Mega Store. I like that website, and that's where I got my vermiculite. I bought 2 big bags of them last year, and I still have 1 whole bag left because I like to make my own seed starting mix. So that's all I'm going to do here, is cover this all with vermiculite like this, and then I'm going to put it out in my greenhouse and hope that it will germinate very soon. Now here is one last and probably the easiest way that takes up the least amount of space in your house, that you could basically create a small greenhouse in your house, is by getting a little dome like this. We actually got this at Moe's. It's like a Chipotle type Mexican place, and I think our food came in this. So you basically have a little greenhouse container in here that you could take inside, put in your window, and let your seeds sprout. So the easiest way to do this way, is I have my seed starting mix here. I'm just gonna fill this up. I already poked some holes in the bottom here. We are just going to not worry about how many seeds we put in. We are just gonna cover this soil top with as many onion seeds as we could fit. And then this is just gonna look like grass, and they're gonna germinate under here. It's gonna help it hold on to moisture. You could do this right in your windowsill in your house, and they're probably gonna germinate in less than 2 weeks, maybe a week, they'll start to germinate. So this might be the easiest way to start onions for a lot of people. Takes the guesswork out of it. Just sprinkle seeds in here. I'm gonna do that in a second. And don't even worry about how many. At the end, when these are all ready to go in the ground, you are gonna have to take them out one by one and separate them. So that's the only downside of this, but this is the easiest way to start onions, and just separate them as you need to. You could still plant them in like little plugs. If you pull out like 2 or 3 together, you could still plant them as like 3 onions. Like we're probably gonna have over here 3 to 5 onions in each cell to plant. But in here, we're just gonna plant as many as we can. And these are gonna go in one of my other raised beds, because I plant a lot of onions. I go through a ton of onions, and I'm gonna need over 250 onions for next year. I might need more than that. I go through a ton of onions, so let's get this planted. All right, we're gonna just fill up this last tray of onions here. Sprinkle them all around, as I said. And we are gonna have a ton of onions sprout. There we go. Okay. And just like the other one, I'm gonna cover this with vermiculite. This one I'm gonna bring in the house and put it in the windowsill, because it'll fit in our windowsill. And that's why this might be an easier way for someone to start these kind of seeds. Actually, it might be an easy way to start a lot of kind of seeds. But onions are first. Onions are first. So that's why I like to save a lot of these things. I also have a couple other ones like this with the dome top. We got like a rotisserie chicken one time, and it has a lid like that. So I really like to keep these if I can. Some people actually go to the store and spend money to buy these greenhouse type domes for seed starting, but you can get them for, well, not really for free, just save them from your food establishments when you get something like this at the store. All right, guys, that's gonna wrap up this video. I appreciate all of you watching. Let me know down in the comments, what seeds are you guys starting right now? We're in the middle of February. I think today is February 12th. Let me know what you guys are starting wherever you are located, and let me know. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.